have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. It is Reality Rants brought to you by the good people over at redvoicemedia.com. I want to remind everybody, if you do enjoy the broadcast, we're doing it 8 hours live with limited commercial breaks. I think we're bringing you some A1 material. Support the broadcast. Some great interviews, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. It's $10 a month if you lock it in, which would be awesome. We love you locking it in. By doing that, what happens? Well, you get just the bells and whistles, baby. You get the bells and whistles, and you support the broadcast. You get $20 off if you do it in for the year. For $100, we're trying to, I haven't taken a day off, just so everybody knows, like a day. Even when I started before, I want to say we started this October 1st now. Okay, so now we're talking about 6-7 months, 4 days a week, 2 hours a day, every day, like the 4 days a week. A lot of people say, well, you should do the Friday show. Man, I get burnt out. I need to take a step back from all the madness. When you're dealing with cartoon supervillains on both sides, whether it be the Muskernauts, Elon, who just called George Soros some kind of a Magneto character, let me assure you, you've got to take a break and just be like, all right, let me deal with my own life. Let me not worry so much about everything that's going on around me, because I can only change so much. I can. And you can only change so much. And there's always going to be evil in the world. And I don't want to have nightmares about either guy. However, because that was the trending topic, and there's such a bigger Muskernut story than, he called him Magneto on Twitter. Oh, and, again, why would it work right? Why, because you didn't do the check. See, now we're doing tech on the air again. And by the way, yesterday, guys, I'm so sorry. This probably means that the video one's not lined up either. Great. Like I said, my electric's bad. If I ever go out like that, unless the power is completely off, which does happen like 3 or 4 times a year, where you want to be? You want to be at Red Voice Media's RVM's Rumble channel. They got the live stream for the whole day. That's where you find the second hour for free after we leave YouTube. And by the way, I was going to wait till tomorrow to play this interview for you, but I think we're doing it today. There's no way I can play any of it on YouTube. It is a horrific story. We get caught up a little bit, I think, lately, before we get to this, Jeffrey Epstein case. Now Elon Musk being subpoenaed. Why isn't that everywhere, by the way? That came out yesterday, and Magneto trended on his website, but not that he was getting subpoenaed in that big Virgin Islands case that actually makes a difference, and I've said we've got to keep our eyes on. by the way, had a great conversation with Nick Bryant yesterday, the author of the Franklin Scandal, the person who published the Epstein Black Book. He's going to be on the show. Well, I'm taping him next Tuesday. So that means Wednesday or Thursday, or it might be premium. Maybe that's a big premium, guys. That's a big premium. If we do premium, you do get like a little sampler pack, and then 2 weeks later we release it for free anyway, because that's how we roll. I want everything out there. But yeah, I'm going to be fair today. I'm going after the Musking Ham here. Again, this is a big, big old case. It matters. It's something that should be headlines everywhere, and for some reason isn't. Instead, Magneto's trending, okay? And look, I get it. The guy does Twitter right. Soros reminds me of Magneto. Fun fact, Magneto's experience during the Holocaust as a survivor shaped his perspective, as well as his depth and empathy. I love when they defend the supervillain. Soros, also a Holocaust survivor, gets attacked nonstop for his good intentions, which some Americans think are bad merely because they disagree probably with his political viewpoints. You assume they are good intentions. They are not. He wants to erode the very fabric of civilization. Soros hates humanity. I don't know, Elon. I think that you might hate humanity. And look, Musk tweeting about Adderall being an anger amplifier. And, people saying, yeah, it also makes you psychotic. Best used sparingly or not at all. I go with the, not at all. But the guy says a lot of truth. We're not talking about the fact that he's got to be subpoenaed in the Jeffrey Epstein lawsuit case. We're not talking about the fact that he is in a picture with Ghislaine Maxwell. It's a photo bomb, he says. I don't know her. Zuckerberg says otherwise. At least that's the story. In fact, I didn't have that one pulled up, but we're gonna do it live. Let's Zuckerberg, Musk, Ghislaine. Boom. There it is. Elon Musk says this is a photo bomb over here, but here's the see. This is, and you notice that's a Daily Mail story. It's a great aggregate. I use the Daily Mail a lot because big headlines, great aggregate, big news site, covers everything, covers just about everything, right? So you take a look at this, and again, apparently, allegedly, Zuckerberg says otherwise. And now L. Muskington is what? Being deposed. There he is. Hey, goes. You photobombed him, huh? I don't know about all that. Hands are a little close right there, Elon, for the photobombing. He's like, oh, wait, why are you taking a picture? Wait, 2014, by the way. Tell you, long after we knew. Long after we knew. So he's being deposed, and what goes viral? Magneto Man. Now look, I probably don't go after George Soros enough. Okay, I probably don't, because there is a time when the media actually did cover the guy. Okay? I mean, I'm not saying they covered him well, but they covered him. And this was one of the most fair pieces you'll ever see on Soros. He gets called a carnivore in it. And in it also, you find out that his Holocaust experience might be a little bit different than what you just read in the tweet. Okay, in fact, he was protected by the Hungarian Schindler, because again, we deal in movies, and we're familiar with Schindler List and him being a good guy apparently, right? And again, I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm not even saying that Miklos Prochaska, the Hungarian Schindler, is a bad guy. What I am telling you is that he does say in this. Let's first of all, let's go with Kiss Sander in here. So Blonde George, meanwhile, was given the name Kiss Sander along with a set of Christian papers. He was then taken by a man called Bombach, also known as Baflaus, whom Tivder paid to protect his son. Bombach was an official at the Ministry of Agriculture who had worked with Soros' father. He was also a Nazi collaborator who drew up inventories of property seized from 500,000 Hungarian Jews after they had been sent to their deaths. Let me repeat that. The guy that took him in was a Nazi collaborator and inventoried everything they took from people that they put into camps and killed. On one occasion, When Soros was feeling downhearted, Baumbach took him on a trip into the countryside to catalog the contents of an estate belonging to Baron Morik Kornfeld, a wealthy Jewish businessman, who was arrested in March 1944 when the Germans arrived. In exchange for turning over all of his property, he was allowed to leave Hungary with his family for a neutral territory. A month later, he left. Baumbach was sent to do an inventory on the property. Okay? You know, Soros has always denied that he helped draw up the inventory. In an interview in 1998, he said, "I was only a spectator. The property was being taken away. I had no role in taking away that property." We're going to play that. That's the clip we're going to play. We're going to play that start to finish. About 7 minutes in, they get into the fact that he was a Nazi collaborator. You know, he said, he added, somebody else would be taking it anyhow. All right? But Soros' time with Baumbach did not last long. As the official lived close to the Soros family home, it was not long before the boy was recognized by former schoolmates while he was standing on the balcony. So they had to move him around. He was a collaborator. He did draw up inventories. He did turn people in. I think that very much shaped him as somebody who became a survivor of sorts, but a predatory survivor. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those things where, yeah, I'm going to do what it takes. You get so commonplace in lying and deception, and you see how the inside works very quickly. In wartime, you know, there has to be just a totally different flip mindset. And I'm sure that's something that has shaped the guy to this day. The funny thing is that, you know, it wasn't short, 10 years after this piece we're going to watch, all of a sudden the media are touting people like George Soros, in a clip I'm going to show you, as the saviors of the world, as the super rich friends, right? Under the guise of eco-fascism. They're saving the world. Okay, sure. So let's just do it. Let's do the watch along here. Let's start it off. Wait, you know what? We better. No, we'll do this right now. We'll start her off right here. Let's go.
Of all the financial titans and philanthropists of the 20th century, none are more complex or mysterious than George Soros. Like Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, and the Rockefellers, he amassed billions through ruthless business decisions, only to turn around and give away most of his fortune to advance his own personal philosophy. He can move world financial markets simply by voicing an opinion, or destabilize a government by buying and selling its currency. He also pledged more aid last year to help people in Russia than the U.S. government did. But now George Soros is worried. He thinks the global economy is coming apart at the seams, and that the world needs to be protected from people like George Soros.
We may now think that everything is fine, but the fact is that the system is broke and it needs fixing.
What you're doing is asking some form of regulation to protect the world against you.
Well, I am a player, and I think all players should be regulated. There have to be rules of the game.
Take 81,000 to buy. Buy 48,000. Buy him 69,000 YUM.
Right now, his Quantum Group hedge fund moves $14 billion of rich investors' money around the world every day, looking for profits and answering to no one. Soros makes huge bets on whole countries and economies. Last year, when he saw cracks in the Asia boom, he began selling the currency in Thailand. Traders in Hong Kong followed suit, triggering a financial crisis that plunged much of Asia into a depression.
In the last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
Oh, and Russia. Oh, Jim Garrison. Thank you so much for that Tipsky and Hutch, by the way, over at the Rockfin. Oh, did I? Look at me. Yes, this guy is a big player in destabilizing markets. Again, they let somebody describe him as a carnivore. And here's the thing, it's problem, reaction, solution. Well, yes, I need to be regulated. We need to have rules of the game. It's consolidation of power outside of the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Okay, the rules of the game exclude the vast majority of us, and those they want to bring in, they want to select, they're allowed to play the game. They're unprosecutable. Look, we'll probably get into the Durham report at least a little bit today, but nobody's accountable. No Russia collusion, all Johnny nonsense. The left still has their talking points. No one's accountable. We're going to come back to Soros after a word from our sponsor.
Have you heard of Executive Order 14067? This little-known order implemented the digital dollar, the most sinister plan to control your spending. And it gets worse. In November, the federal government and banks began a test program to roll out the digital dollar. With this, privacy for all Americans will be lost forever. Imagine, the government can now track all of your spending. The government can tell you what you can and can't buy. The government could confiscate your cash. When digital currency was rolled out in China, Bloomberg wrote, quote, "This will lead to control like no other," end quote. The EU has announced that they are next, but it is already happening in America, which makes this wealth protection guide that American Alternative Assets just put out even more urgent. Project Hamilton, as this secret order is being called, might be the scariest order to happen to privacy and freedom in America since its founding, which makes this wealth protection guide so incredibly valuable right now. Move your money out of cash and into something that doesn't infringe on your privacy. You see, there is one legal IRS-proof loophole that could protect your IRA, 401k, and pension savings with gold and silver. And this free guide tells you exactly which steps you need to take right now to move part of your IRA or 401k into precious metals with no tax consequences. As this program rolls out, the sky's the limit for the level of government control that could be enforced on your money. Protect your savings and your privacy. But in the devastation ahead, American Alternative Assets is offering you something rare, a chance to protect your wealth and possibly even grow it.
So we're going to get back to Soros, but right here, he's basically telling you, look, none of this can be trusted. It is corrupt. It needs to get regulated. Let me and my buddies regulate it. Let global institutions that we sign treaties with across the board regulate it. And look, Soros is got to be on his last legs. Like, you don't go much past Soros age or Kissinger age. I mean, is Kissinger going to live till 120? Are we going to get to Futurama level where they're going to put his head in a jar? It's going to be talking heads everywhere. Let's pray to God that dark cartoon, because there's a lot. I like Futurama, but there you get to the baselines of Futurama, a lot of dark stuff in there. The thing is that there's always somebody ready to take their place. This guy's mentored how many? His son is starting to take his place a bit. You're seeing his son out there. It's that nepotism I talk about. I talk about generational bloodlines. And when this guy calls him a carnivore, the reason I point to that is because carnivores in nature are the predators, right? Let's be honest. Like, we're top of the food chain. Every other animal that we have wanted to harvest for sustenance, we can, because in that sense, we are predators. When he talks about him being a carnivore, he means a human carnivore. He's throwing human beings in the grinder, baby. Oh, I destabilized. I mean, look at the face on this guy. Oh, who, me? Oh, I'm the guy? Let's see if we can bring it back just a little bit. Just a little bit. This is good stuff.
Saw cracks in the Asia boom. He began selling the currency in Thailand. Traders in Hong Kong followed suit, triggering a financial crisis that plunged much of Asia into a depression.
In the last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
Yeah, all of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Are you that powerful?
No, I think there's a great misunderstanding.
The Prime Minister of Malaysia
Yes.
said that the region spent 40 years trying to build up its economy, and along comes a moron like Soros with a lot of money, and it's all over. He called you a criminal.
It's easier for him to blame an outside force than to admit that they were mismanaging their economy and their currency. The French finance minister talked about hanging speculators from lampposts.
Who, me? Who, me? And notice, even then, a guy like Soros knows when to play the victim. Oh, they're gonna hang speculators from lampposts. In other words, they want to put violence on me for their mistakes. Have we heard that before? We're hearing it a lot more now. Oh, it's the victim billionaire.
Soros says the Asian currencies would have collapsed even if he hadn't been in the market. They were overvalued. He says people tend to follow his lead because he's been so successful.
I think that I've been blamed for everything. I am basically there to make money. I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do.
That's a lie. That's absolutely a lie. Even in the intro there, he talks about how he turned his fortune into a way to get the types of social reform he wants to through his foundations. Obviously, the Open Society Foundation is the biggest one out there, but Soros got he's a good guy, club guy. He's a eugenics guy.
This man is a carnivore of the first order.
Jim Grant is the editor of Grant's Interest Rate Observer and one of Wall Street's most respected analysts. He never tires of watching Soros, in part because of the huge bets he's willing to place on his hunches.
He has always amazed the people he's worked with at his audacity and his willingness to back up his commitments with enormous sums of money. It causes the blood to drain from ordinary mortals' faces.
Come on, that guy's not great. That causes the blood to drain from ordinary mortals' faces. Come on, that's gold right there. Where is this type of journalism anymore? When was the last time they went after an actual powerful billionaire for something real? Like, I don't know, crashing global economies.
Like risking $2 billion in Russia. When the Russian market began falling apart in August, Soros was the country's single largest investor. He called the U.S. Treasury and asked Uncle Sam for $7 billion to prop up the ruble. When U.S. officials failed to intervene, Soros wrote a letter to the Financial Times of London saying he thought the Russian currency should be devalued by as much as 25%. A few words from Soros were enough to cause panic selling that fueled the crash.
What's it like to have a statement that you make have such serious, grievous consequences? I mean, you can, it looks to me like in a number of situations, you can take a position against a currency or make a statement, and the whole country falls apart.
Well, it's a tremendous sense of responsibility, actually. And it's also a humbling experience because I am actually trying to do the right thing, and sometimes what I do has an unintended negative consequence, as it did in Russia.
It's an unintended negative consequence helping to crash economies. I'm doing the right thing. I'm basically Spike Lee. I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm the good guy billionaire, right? And we need to regulate me and other guys. I'm here to talk about it. You know, and I believe he says that a Nazi era thing. Again, we're gonna play it live, so you're gonna get to decide. Happy fun time. It was a happy fun time. Can we get some thumbs up, by the way? Thumbs up, subscribe, and share. Come on, guys. Everywhere. Rumble. I need comments in the comment section, not just the live streams. We're trying to grow the show. I need your support. redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Steve from Slow News Day. Great show on Bilderberg and Assange. Zach Voorhees, AI, ChatGPT, and really a lot of the technical aspects behind the scenes. Great stuff over at Premium. Let's get back to the Soros.
For both the Russian middle class and for Soros, who lost his $2 billion. Whatever his motivations, no one can accuse him of greed. He's backed away from the day-to-day operation of his businesses and is giving away his billions now with the same determination that he made them in places like Haiti, a country that has less money in the bank than he does. Last month, he brought the First Lady with him for a look at some of the projects his foundation is funding.
This is Mr. George Soros, and he's going to be...
It's my buddy
How
George.
are you?
Look, it's Hill Dog. Oh, this is my friend George. I'm in a pink pantsuit. How are you doing? By the way, did you hear? I'm going to be the first female president. At least she thought she was. At least she thought she was. Imagine she tries to slip in the back door with all the Biden nonsense. Really like cut the throat of Newsom. You never know. You never know. We're in the dark cartoon.
This year, Soros plans to give away almost $500 million around the world. In Bosnia, when the water supply to Sarajevo was cut off at the height of the siege, it was Soros who wrote a check to jury-rig a pipeline through an abandoned highway tunnel.
$5 million up front can be more valuable than $50 million a year or two later.
Ambassador Richard Holbrooke brokered the peace in Bosnia.
At one point, after the Dayton peace agreements in Bosnia in 1995, for a considerable period of time, George had given more money to implement the peace agreements than the U.S. government had. He just could move that fast.
All I'm going to say is Slobodan Milosevic was cleared after he awaited trial. I believe he was in The Hague and died. Was cleared of war crimes after the fact. We got sold a little bit of the bullshiz on that one too, guys. Imagine that.
In Russia, he pledged $100 million to help scientists who might otherwise have sold their expertise to bidders like Iran or Iraq. In Eastern Europe, he's educated a new generation. And in Ukraine, he spent millions retraining the old Soviet military.
Oh! Georgie Soros has a little bit of scratch going into the Ukraine back in the dizzle. That's so weird. Just weird.
At the center of George Soros, there's an inherent contradiction. Which is, on one hand, you're the capitalist who does not care about the social consequences of his act, and on the other hand, you are a philanthropist who cares only about social consequences. How do you resolve the two?
You don't. They work hand in hand. I mean, you're literally watching somebody give you doublespeak. There can be only one. There can be only one.
Recognizing that as a competitor, I've got to compete to win. As a human being, I am concerned about the society in which I live.
Which George Soros am I talking?
What society does he think his billionaire ass lives in? Basically anyone he wants in a huge, huge world. Anywhere he wants, any way he wants it. This philanthropy thing should be outlawed. At least in the way it is now, because these tax-free foundations are ways for these monsters in the predator class to not only maintain but gain wealth and influence tax-free and do whatever they like under the guise of, oh, we're helping. We love you. We're the loving billionaires. Love, love, love. Whole bunch of love.
Talking to now, the amoral George Soros or the moral George Soros?
It's one person. It's one person who at one time engages in amoral activities and at the rest of the time tries to be moral.
I try, I mean, I'm engaging in a lot of amoral activities. No, there's nothing amoral about it. Everything is a moral choice. Sorry. That's just, you don't get to choose. But even there, he kind of laughs at you. He's like, well, I try to be moral. I try to be moral. My goodness. My goodness gracious. Give it a thumbs up, guys.
To understand the complexities and contradictions in his personality, you have to go back to the very beginning, to Budapest, where George Soros was born 68 years ago to parents who were wealthy, well-educated, and Jewish. When the Nazis occupied Budapest in 1944, George Soros' father was a successful lawyer. He lived on an island in the Danube and liked to commute to work in a rowboat. But knowing there were problems ahead for the Jews, he decided to split his family up. He bought them forged papers, and he bribed a government official to take 14-year-old George Soros in and swear that he was his Christian godson. But survival carried a heavy price tag. While hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews were being shipped off to the death camps, George Soros accompanied his phony godfather on his appointed rounds, confiscating property from the Jews.
Confiscating property. There it is. They don't want you to know this part. They love George Soros. That's the mainstream media industrial complex. We're going to talk about it after another word from our sponsor.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog beds.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
I'm interrupting that commercial, Mike. Use the promo code RVM if you are shopping over with Lindell and the MyPillow store. So again, do you think that we could have a media report that goes this in-depth at this point? I don't know that we can. I don't know that we have seen that recently. Call me Kukels. Call me Kukels. But you just heard it. In fact, we're going to probably bring it back about 1 minute. Not even, let's go 30 seconds. Where he says, look, he was with his godfather, his appointed godfather, doing the rounds, all right, and confiscating property during World War II. And if you think that Soros's responses and candor have been eye-opening so far, I think that this is where we get to the crescendo, the coup de grace, if you will.
While hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews were being shipped off to the death camps, George Soros accompanied his phony godfather on his appointed rounds, confiscating property from the Jews. These are pictures from 1944 of what happened to George Soros's friends and neighbors.
You're a Hungarian Jew who escaped the Holocaust by posing as a Christian.
Right.
And you watched lots of people get shipped off to the death camps.
Right. I was 14 years old. And I would say that that's when my character was made.
In what way?
That one should think ahead, one should understand and anticipate events, and one is threatened. It was a tremendous threat of evil. I mean, it was a very personal experience of evil.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes, yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right.
That's right. Like, he like, I know, you notice how it got spun even in the article, and they didn't even say that this was the quote. I mean, he straight up asked him, you were part of confiscating this stuff, right? And he's like, yeah, no, that's right. Let's bring it back. It's like, bring it back. This is where his character was made, man.
A personal experience of evil.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes, yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right. Yes.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child you don't see the connection, but it created no problem at all.
No feeling of guilt.
No.
For example, that I'm Jewish, And here I am watching these people go. I could just as easily be there. I should be there. None of that.
Well, of course, I could be on the other side, or I could be the one from whom the thing is being taken away. But there was no sense that I shouldn't be there, because that was, well, actually, funny way, it's just like in markets, that if I weren't there, of course I wasn't doing it, but somebody else would be taking it away anyhow.
Now notice how he frames it there. And he's been looking up, and how do I frame this? He's like, well, again, it's one of those situations. Well, if it's not me, it's somebody else. But he's like, I wasn't doing it, but I was kind of doing it. I kind of was, but yeah, I was doing it. I mean, I think here, I mean, again, no remorse. No remorse. I mean, some people would say when that's the thing that shapes him, that's kind of a sociopathy.
Whether I was there or not, I was only a spectator. The property was being taken away. So I had no role in taking away that property. So I had no sense of guilt.
Are you religious?
No.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Soros told us he believes God was created by man, not the other way around, which may be why he thinks he can smooth out the world's imperfections.
And that's a great observation. At the end of the day, these people that do not believe in a higher power or a God or a soul, they believe that they are gods and that they should. It's that social Darwinist attitude that's I should rule because I do. I mean, think about how much amoral or immoral activity we've just been talking about with Soros right here. And we're 10 minutes into the clip. I think there's about 3 minutes left in this clip. I mean, I'm not saying journalism was grand back in the day, but it's so much different now than this. Like, those are kind of tough questions. You notice there were no cuts there either. They let Soros say what he was going to say.
When we went with him to Ukraine, he was treated like a visiting head of state and was received by the president. Then he was received by the prime minister and finally the central bank.
20% in cash.
They even allowed him to look at the books and asked him for advice. Lots of people want George Soros' advice. Most recently, South African President Nelson Mandela.
Actually, President Mandela asked me, how could South Africa protect itself against speculators like you? And I told him, I wrote him a memo, trying to give him the best advice I could, how to reduce the exposure of South Africa to speculative attack.
That's the old stop me before I kill again approach, right?
Well,
you're telling this is what you can do to stop me.
Whether I...
Stop me before I kill again. And he's chuckling. He's like, yeah, it kind of is. Yep, please. I mean, it was a different time in 1998. I couldn't even legally drink.
Or somebody else does whatever is happening in the markets. It really doesn't make any difference to the outcome. I don't feel guilty because I'm engaged in an amoral activity which is not meant to have anything to do with guilt.
Part of the reason he is so rich is that the Soros hedge funds operate offshore in the Netherlands Antilles to avoid scrutiny by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So even while Soros tells Congress and the Treasury that hedge funds must be regulated to stop the global crisis, he's avoiding the rules.
Why is it that Americans can't invest in the quantum fund? It's an offshore fund. Why is that?
Because the fund is not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. We are not
licensed to do business in the United States.
That's right.
Because?
Because we are not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. because we find it more convenient to operate without it.
We find it more convenient not to be regulated in any way. Less people to bribe. And again, you think guys like this are paying any kind of real taxes at the end of the day, especially when they have the guise of being the good guy. Oh, they're the good guys. Again, this is the hardest hitting you'll ever see on Soros, even up till this day in the mainstream media. On one of the big networks, ABC, CBS, even Fox. So now that the Tuckins is gone, they'll let you rail off against George Soros as long as you have Karl Rove on to talk about it, right? Karl Rove.
So in some ways it's to escape regulation.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh. But you've been sitting here talking about the need for regulation.
Yes, and whatever regulations are imposed, we will obey. We already conform to everything.
If the beneficiaries of Soros's billions do not understand the intricacies of SEC rules and offshore hedge funds, they do understand what he's done for them. The president of Haiti is reading his new book, The Crisis of Global Capitalism, and so is President Clinton. Will all the attention spoil George Soros?
George Soros, in a way, is Donald Trump without the humility.
One of your money manager told us that,
Think about that line. I mean, that guy's the best, right? Carnivore of the highest order, look into a mere mortal's eyes and suck the blood from his face. Donald Trump without the humility. Think about that comparison in 2023. Without seriously, you might not like Donald Trump, but when he talks about business, he doesn't talk about taking advantage of everybody. But that also kind of flips it on its face, and it lets you know that Trump behind the scenes is obviously a vicious businessman. We've talked about that. Gangster style. I mean, that's just, that guy's gold, man.
George really does think he's a god.
I mean, if you think that you're God and you go into financial markets, you're bound to come out broke. So the fact that I'm not broke shows that I don't believe that I'm God.
The fact that I'm not broke shows that I don't believe that I'm God. But these people do believe that they are fit to rule. And I want to play this media piece from, I think, 2008, where Gates, Soros, Turner, Oprah, Bloomberg, they're the good guys. They're the super rich friends.
The price of admission is $1 billion and a philanthropic heart. And that meets the pricey requirements recently held in a secret meeting, a private meeting in New York City. ABC's John Berman has the scoop on who was there and what was going on.
Behind closed doors on this New York campus, a secret gathering of some of the world's most powerful people. Gates, Buffett, Bloomberg, Winfrey. It was like the Super Friends.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 4 greatest heroes.
Together with others at the meeting, including George Soros, Ted Turner, David Rockefeller, they're worth more than $125 billion.
To have been in the room and see this meeting of the minds really would have been a fascinating thing.
That much money, that much power around one table. It begs the question, what were they doing? What were they scheming? Total world domination?
This group, together for 6 hours, was talking about charity, education, emergency relief, global health.
All my friends are philanthropic. Well, they probably wouldn't be my friends.
An official at the Gates Foundation told ABCNews.com the overwhelming reason for the meeting was need. That was the issue that galvanized everyone to participate. Together, they've given away $70 billion since 1996. And with the sagging economy, their help could be just what struggling charities need.
Charities are hurting, and somebody has to speak for all these charities, and if they want philanthropy to be robust in the future in the United States, these are the people where you really want to be talking about it.
The new Superman and Wonder Woman, the super rich friends, not fighting bad guys, but fighting for good nonetheless. For Good Morning America, John Berman, ABC News, New York.
just so everybody knows, it was actually David Rockefeller Jr. that attended that one too. Again, the nepotism. Media got that one wrong. It was reported correctly in other places. That they were there in a bid to curb the good guys. The good guys. There they are. Ooh, yeah, there they are. They're the super rich friends. In 10 years, it went from, stop it before you kill again, carnivore of the highest order, collaborating with Nazis, to super rich friends. The super rich friends. One more word from our sponsor, then we're going to do our final segment in the first hour, everybody, and we'll be back in a moment.
Folks, we have a huge problem on our hands. A banking crisis is spiraling, and it's all thanks to the current administration's reckless spending, sky-high inflation, and massive interest rate hikes. Now, these banks are suffering, and guess what? They can legally seize your savings without notice to bail themselves out. That's right. Thanks to a sneaky law passed back in 2008, it's now legal for banks to take your hard-earned money, including your retirement savings, to save themselves. Now, this could leave your retirement accounts decimated, and you paying the price for their disastrous policies. Take action now before it's too late. Now, this guide will show you how to defend your money and keep your retirement savings safe from the banking crisis and the current administration's financial fiasco. This simple and 100% legal strategy may help you protect your retirement against higher taxes, soaring inflation, and a volatile economy. So don't let your golden years be ruined by someone else's mistakes. To secure your free wealth protection guide and safeguard what's rightfully yours, don't wait. The time to act is now.
Stand up against the poison of white supremacy, as I did my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy. And I'm not saying this because I'm at a black HBCU. I say it wherever I go.
One thing that we're really overlooking, there's often when we talk about disinformation, a desire to either ban Chinese or Russian media from coming to our press briefings and things like that. There's a desire to really push back strongly against the state organs. I think one of the most important things that we could be doing right now as a government is to be communicating more effectively and transparently about this crisis. We still see President Trump giving his press briefings every day. I am glad there is a desire to inform the people. I am not sure that is necessarily the motivation behind those briefings.
So just so everybody understands what we're watching, the reason I brought in Joe for the white supremacy is because that's the new narrative push. And guys like Mehdi Hassan, who is on MSNBC, and some of the worst propaganda out there. He's a horrible person, knows exactly what he's doing, is a total hack, was begging for jobs. I mean, talk about a sellout, a loser, Mehdi Hassan. It's very simple. If you're not a white supremacist, you shouldn't get really annoyed or upset when the president condemns white supremacists. Yeah, because no one in the history of humanity has been called something they weren't by a known professional liar before. Every time you have these labels out from people in authority, okay, and that label of white supremacy and then domestic terror and homeland, that's you don't have constitutional rights. So if you get that label, you are flickelschnicked. You are fuckelschnucked. You get it? It's the old screw job McGinty. And that woman there right now, I'm going to let her finish with her hate and lies. This is in April of 2020. Like about 3 weeks into the COVID-1984 lockdown nightmare. All right, look at the smile on this person's face. Wants the briefings because she wants the authoritarianism and the Fauciism, wants to just burn Trump. This is the one they wanted for their misinformation and disinformation Ministry of Truth, who is now not only suing Fox News, but, okay, allowed to have a GoFundMe where, and this person will probably get to the $100,000 for this lawsuit. Insane. Think about that. This psychopath isn't just going to get like $100,000 for it. We're going to sue and probably get a settlement of even more, despite honest reporting on this person. And they're trying to stop free speech. We played that video of the clown show over there. And their narrative, their narrative is climate change is to blame for everything. Everything. In fact, the migrant crisis, that's climate change. That's the clip we're going to play after this. So, we got to be very aware of people like this, because these are the same people, telling you what? Not only can men be women, but things like this are okay. The girls are living in constant fear. University of Wyoming sorority sisters blast college for letting 6'2", 260-pound trans woman, pre-op, move back into their house after claiming she peeps to them while visibly aroused. Just the fact, is that Chris Farley? Is that the ghost of the Far? Just insane. It's gone insane. It's crazy. Insanity. Yeah, so let's let a nut job like this be in control of the narrative, and what we are allowed to say and what we aren't, what's going to be criminalized, and who is a white supremacist and who isn't. Yeah, Mehdi, we should totally go along with a crew that is called black men like Larry Elder, white supremacists. You psychopath. Let's get back to Jankowicz. Yeah, she totally sounds sane in this, by the way.
But the thing that worries me the most about them is that he and the administration are not necessarily on the same page about their talking points, so people come away confused. And B, they're not modeling good behavior.
Oh, you're not behaving well. Jeez. Then they admit it's about your behavior. You're not modeling good behavior. According to who? According to this nut job that's singing into her phone about misinformation and disinformation? No thanks.
Those briefings. They should not be holding them in person anymore. As much as they are trying to socially distance the reporters in the room, people are putting their lives at risk, including the life of the president and the doctors who are advising him. A lot of other countries are doing these briefings digitally. We're doing this briefing digitally. I think we need to model that good behavior and continue to communicate transparently, to prioritize experts and scientists over politicians and pundits.
Experts and scientists over politicians and pundits, but they have to be our experts and our scientists. But we'll let our pundits say whatever they like. You watched yesterday? You watched that uncensored second hour? Oh boy. You saw it again and again and again. Colbert gets to lie. Kimmel gets to lie. Right? Lemon gets to lie. You got a rebranding of Chris Cuomo, by the way. I'm not even sure we're going to get to it in the first hour. But now he's telling you the truth on the border crisis, right? I'm sure he's going to tell you the truth about Russia and the Durham report now, right? I'm sure they're going to start reporting Cuomo and the like over at, I think it's Dan Abrams' thing, that, John Brennan does admit that the 51 intelligence officer letter was political. No kidding. Was it political? Derp-a-da-derp. Derp-a-da-derp. Let's let Little Miss Insanity here finish it up, and then it's going to get into an actual local news clip saying, hey, the new normal is just people migrating here because of the climate crisis, because of climate disasters. What? That's not real. That's imagination land.
And if we start to do that, we will have put ourselves on a different informational footing than a lot of the other countries who are dealing with this crisis. And I hope to start to see that in the future.
I think the larger issue here is what are we doing to get people through the system? because if all we're doing is warehousing people, then there's no end in sight.
An immigrant advocacy group in New York City says these asylum seekers are fighting for their future and their children.
A lot of them are fleeing political situations or climate disasters.
Climate disasters. No, look, if you don't realize what this really is, this is the takeover. These immigrants are waiting 10 years to get an asylum court date. You know what that means? Okay, they obviously aren't serious about it. They obviously don't expect these people to show up 10 years from now unless for some reason they're not adhering to the 2030, 2035 norms, the 2030 agenda. By the way, that agenda is very much out in the open right here. Migration and the 2030 agenda. There's actually, I don't know, 150-page paper on it by the people pushing it. That's the AP. So basically, they want to push everything forward, let them in. Hopefully they do, what the status quo wants. And then any rogues won't get asylum in 10 years. They'll be deported. Like, this is whoa next level, and it's because of the climate crisis. Oh, climate disaster. Look at this person. Make the road, New York. Natalia Aristizabal. Would you listen to anything that person said to you? I mean, anything. Let's hear it again.
Political situations or climate disasters, which is the new world that we're in and outcomes of other decisions.
As this humanitarian crisis continues, Mayor Eric Adams says we are out of space. Nothing is off the table as we work to fill our moral mandate, but we should all expect this crisis to affect every city service.
How many of them are in Gracie Mansion? How many of them in Adams' backyard? They're in our backyard. Why aren't they in his?
Well, because he's the installed puppet that said all the right things on the run-up and got some decent media coverage because he was an ex-cop. But again, cops can be just as corrupt, if not more, than everybody. Sorry. Again, what do you think the vast majority of the Fed fronts over there were? Other than federal informants, federal agents, law enforcement officers. And not because they're quote-unquote white supremacists. It's because they're play acting. They're LARPing. They're creating this idea that straight white men, they're the big enemy because they encompass the largest part of this population. And then you can just say, whoever you want, white supremacy. White supremacy, the gift that continues to keep on giving. And let's play a little bit of this now. Now, Cuomo's going to tell you the truth. Little Chrissy's back all of a sudden. He slams Biden and the media for ignoring this. Yeah, forget his brother is a capo. Forget about his brother's policies that he not only defended but promoted and did comedy skits with. Remember when his brother got an Emmy Award? My God.
Hey, I'm Chris Cuomo. It is Monday. We're live, and we're here on the border in El Paso, Texas. This is one of the famous or infamous gates where we've seen scenes of people pouring through all of the hordes of migrants that have become such a frightful image on our televisions and our computer screens all over.
Imagine if Donnie T said it was a frightful image. They'd be all over him. But they're going to let Chris Cuomo talk about it now, yeah.
We saw what it was. The director will show you what kinds of groups and crowds we had seen that was making everybody so worried about what will happen when Title 42, the emergency measure that the Trump administration executed to allow people during COVID to be restricted from here for not being vaccinated, not being able to show whether or not they'd had coronavirus, and then it was going to end, and what would happen? And we saw all of these massive things, and you heard all the politics about how there was going to be an invasion, and now there's literally almost no one here. And for you, the absence of people should be more frightening than seeing the big groups. Because when you see big groups, that means you know where migrants are, migrants whose identities they don't know, whose criminal backgrounds they don't know, whose intentions they don't know.
Wow. A lot of Trump talk right there. One more commercial. I'm going to briefly come back on the flip of that commercial for you guys to introduce what's coming up in the second hour over at the RVM Rumble. But I use IPVanish, so why not you?
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IPVanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you. Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IPVanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IPVanish.
All right, YouTube, this is the time to thumbs it up, subscribe, share. Come on over to the RVM Rumble, where the second hour is free. We're going to be talking about a young girl with Down syndrome at 19 that, because of hospital protocol, pre-boopity-boop, they murdered this girl. And I talked to her father, and I thought it was something we were going to do for tomorrow, but the guy was extremely educated on what the complete agenda is. Can't really talk about that agenda on YouTube, so come on over. It's going to be an important broadcast.